Data collection and targeted online messaging will be integral to the Trump campaign this year, just as it was in 2016. CBS News found the Trump campaign's app is tapping into a, quote, goldmine of users' data and the data of their friends and family. And it isn't just the Trump campaign using this information to blur the line between a user's personal and political life. The Biden campaign's app is also using your contact list to create more effective messaging this election cycle. CBS News investigative reporter Graham Cates is following the story, and he joins us now. So, Graham, what information are the campaigns taking when users agree to the app's term, and how do these tactics compare to those used to gain access to personal data in the 2016 Cambridge Analytica scandal?
The one thing that the apps really have in common is that they both really quickly ask for access to your contact list. And if you think about that, that's on many phones, hundreds of people with their names and their phone numbers, and each successive phone that has an individual person on it, it teaches you a little bit more about that person's real life social network. And it's worth noting, while they both do that, the Biden app is on significantly fewer devices than the Trump app. We're talking 64,000 versus the Trump app, which is on as many as 1.4 million phones, giving it orders of magnitude larger amounts of information just from the contact lists.
So one of the other things that the Trump campaign asks for is something that I had never heard of, the phone's device ID. So you actually spoke to Ian Carnell. He's a former executive vice president at Funware, which is a company that makes this app, Fun spelt with a PH. And here's what he had to say about the company's approach to sort of collecting data when it comes to political causes. Let's just take a listen to that.
A lot of those device IDs come along with location data, app level data, some registration level data. It depends on the supplier. And then I began to kind of match that with voter records as we began to look to stand up a political vertical at Funware.
So I got sort of a two-part question. What is the device ID? And then, how is this information valuable to the campaign?
The device ID is this anonymized signifier for every individual phone. And what the Trump app also does is it tracks your fine and course location data. And combined, what that can do is really begin to paint a pattern of who you are as a person. So your device ID can be attached to you, and then they see where you go and who you're with, potentially. And then they can pair that with a whole host of other data that they have, both from their app. And we asked them if they pair with Funware's data, because Funware says it has, it can track up to 1 billion devices per month, and they didn't reply, but potentially really a lot of other data points about you in order to really figure out, are you someone that they should be trying to persuade? Are those people around you, people who maybe can help try to persuade you?
You also spoke to Carnell about what makes Funware in particular appealing to corporate and political clients. What more can you tell us about that and how its tactics are helpful to the Trump campaign?
Funware has a particularly unique offering that it can give its clients, which is that they have a network of what are called proximity beacons. And what these are physical devices that you could place around events, retailers, out in the open. They're not necessarily from Funware, but from other campaigns. There were instances of them being used on yard signs. And what this proximity beacon does is it notes every single phone that passes by, and that creates a new line of data about them. And so one way the Trump campaign could use this, according to Carnell, is they could compare who's showing up at the events this year versus who showed up last year. And that would tell them about who maybe isn't as enthusiastic about Trump this time around as they were last time. And maybe that's a person they should really be focusing on to get their vote.
This is mind-blowing to me. I mean, I really feel like as voters, we're kind of caught in this this science experiment, this grand science experiment. This is an awful lot of information about you, your friends, your movements that could all be acquired. And this is all legal. This is okay.
Yeah, none of it is illegal. And I think that's part of this wider conversation. This set of techniques is widely used in marketing for retailers and other companies. And we haven't really talked about it in the political sphere. And it's a lot of stuff that people, I think, don't really understand. I think people know that there's a lot of data being collected about them. But in this granular detail, whether it's politicians or whether it's corporations, there may need to be a wider conversation about what we want to give away as we go about our day.
Mm-hmm.
The Trump campaign's app download history stretches back to 2016. So how much of an advantage is that over the Biden campaign and its app, which was launched in just December of last year?
It's really significant. I mean, they're almost not comparable. The Trump app was downloaded going back to 2016 up to 1.4 million times. And what they did was they used the old, it's called a bundle ID, so that when they put it on the new app on the Play Store, the Google Store, and on the Apple Store, you were able to just kind of update your old one in order to have the new one, as opposed to having to actually search for the new one. Whereas Biden had to have a fresh, brand new app, which he launched in December. And you can see from this graph, the amount of daily downloads, they're not even close. The Trump app is leaps and bounds ahead of the Biden app. And again, now that they're getting contact lists from people, that really makes a significant difference.
Graham, thanks a lot. We are clearly a long way from a set of campaign promises and a campaign button with a zingy slogan on it. I think it's really important for people to know the type of manipulation, I'll use that word, that they're being subjected to, so that they can make sort of a clear decision when they do vote. Thank you so much. It's really a great investigation, Graham.
Thank you.